What kind of indoor climate problems at schools have you come across most often during the past few years? Over the years, pollution has increased strongly. I also found that there is a lot of measuring equipment on the market that fails to register high levels of pollution. What exactly do you mean when you say that pollution at school has been gradually increasing? Particulate matter, or PM, is the main pollutant. Fine dust particles are mainly emitted by urban traffic because the filtration systems fitted on cars are inadequate. Cars are often only fitted with coarse air filters rather than adequate fine dust filters. That's a pity, because the traffic in cities is increasing, and the schools are often built in city centers. It's also true that nowadays many children are picked up from school by car, which ultimately affects the indoor climates at schools. How small are those fine dust particles we're talking about? In the past, when measuring air quality, particulate matter concentration of PM10 was a standard. These are particles of a diameter up to 10 micrometer. Now we are looking at even smaller particles with a diameter of 2.5 micrometer, as these can penetrate the blood of children directly. Technological developments are now focusing on catching these particles and getting them out of the classrooms.
Hier, vochtgehalte. Dit is de CO2 op dit moment. Dit is het zuurstofgehalte. Dan krijgen we hier de vluchtorganische stoffen. Dan moet ik nog even de meet aansluiten voor extern voor de stofdeeltjes. Die moet ik nog even pakken.
When you refer to the effects of fine dust particles on pupils and teachers, then what are the predominant health problems they are facing? The most common complaints are irritated eyes, lung and respiratory problems, as well as irritated mucous membranes. Children become more agitated. As a result, their concentration levels and performance decrease. This is a negative impact of fine dust particles. Have you had any response yet, or is this still in the initial phase? Just recently we have fitted a new school with 60 powerful filters, and it's evident that the pupils and teachers enjoy going to school, and that the pupils' achievements have been improved. We can now simply prove the level of pollution in classrooms, also in new schools, and show the management that the air quality is truly poor. Our pilot project proves that the air quality can be improved by 80%. That is an enormous improvement. Have you identified other pollutants besides fine dust particles? Yes, sure. Other major pollutants I have found in the indoor environment are volatile organic compounds. VOCs includes both naturally occurring and human-made chemical compounds. Children are naturally very active, and their skins therefore exude a lot of ammonia. Another problem is that the use of plastics, that contain among other substances PCB, plasticizers has increased, and as a consequence the emission of these softening agents are rising. Plastic is one of the major culprits. The air quality is also affected by electronic devices, such as computers, monitors, smartboards and mobile telephones. What are the effects of plasticizers? Take plastic for instance. Plastic is made using solvents called softening agents or plasticizers. These softening agents remain active and are emitted into the indoor air. These emissions can be measured and are not immediately harmful in themselves. However, in combination with electronic devices such as PCs, as well as substances produced by those present in the classroom, and inadequate air ventilation, the effect on the quality of the indoor air is often adverse, creating an inadequate classroom ambience. What are the effects of poor air quality on public health? Too many VOCs in the indoor air can cause chest pressure, anxiety, headaches and dry mouth. The moment you leave the classroom and you think, "Now that's a relief, I feel good again," and those are then the first signs indicating that the indoor climate is poor. Would you say that schools in urban conurbations in the Netherlands are more affected than those in the less densely populated province like Groningen or Limburg? Actually, there's not much difference. Most pollution comes from indoor sources, as there is little or no supply of fresh air. The effects of the outdoor environment are limited. Our measurements have shown that there is no or scarcely any air circulation in classrooms, and that often no tests are carried out during construction or renovation. We feel that this is a cause for concern. The air quality of 80% of 100 schools we have recently tested was simply very poor. When you say very poor, what's the standard? What do you compare it with? The CO2 concentration, which according to the standard should not exceed 1200 parts per million, the target value being 800 parts per million, is often exceeded. Our measurements showed 1500 till 1600 parts per million. The maximum part per million concentration for volatile organic substances is 400 parts per million, whereas we sometimes found concentration of plasticizers in excess of 2000 parts per million. These findings are alarming, especially when we measure levels of oxygen that are extremely low because there is a lack of fresh air supplies in the classrooms. Are schools facing greater air quality problems than hospitals or office buildings? Air quality is always a problem when a lot of people work together in a limited space that is packed with electronics. Spending on air ventilation and filtration is cut to reduce the cost of energy, and that is wrong. You are now talking about improving the ventilation programs for school and other buildings. Would that be sufficient, or are other techniques needed? The situation can be improved by using new techniques that can charge dust particles, make them heavier and cause them to fall on the floor. That is a very positive technological development, but particles need to be caught and filtered properly. Applying just one technique is not enough. You also need a filtration system that catches the particles. It is said that ultra-fine dust, 2.5 pm, penetrates the bloodstream directly, and hence it is far more damaging. Can you elaborate on this? The lungs act as a kind of filter tissue that can absorb a lot of dust, but when dust becomes so fine, it can simply penetrate the bloodstream. This has been measured with values of PM 2.5, and that is very worrying. What would be the effects on schools when assuming an ideal situation in 10 to 20 years' time? So, the indoor climate is excellent, the levels of fine dust are low, and the VOCs have been decreased. The study results of children would improve enormously. Children and their parents would be more cheerful, because children are healthier. Lung problems, asthma, and these kind of disorders would decline.